Lars von Trier is a filmmaker that I have sort of actively avoided getting fully into because his approach to storytelling has always seemed so far out of the realm of what I find myself usually aligning with. And also, every interview I see of the guy just makes him seem like an insufferable piece of shit.
What can I say? I understand Hitler.
The only other film of his that I've seen is The House That Jack Built, and I certainly appreciated that film at the time, but I have no real desire to revisit it anytime soon. I knew sooner or later I was going to have to subject myself to Antichrist, but I just felt recently that I've held out for as long as I can. After sitting with the film for a couple of days, I certainly don't regret having watched it, but once this video is up, the amount of time I'm going to spend engaging with it in any capacity will likely fall to zero for the foreseeable future. I really have no idea how I'm supposed to structure my points with this one, so I'm just gonna ramble and see if anything good comes out of it. Full disclosure, the footage used in this video is probably going to be the same clips from trailers used over and over again because there's a lot less positive of a ratio of what I can and can't show from this film on YouTube without getting put on a list. Also, I just don't feel like looking at most of it. I think overall, the film looks absolutely stunning most of the time. There's a few key transitional edits that Lars does that involve really choreographed camera setups, and they're utterly ingenious and will be seared into my mind forever in a good way, unlike many of the other images in the film. The film is dedicated to Andrei Tarkovsky, and you see so much of him in the film, aside from all of the graphic imagery that I think Tarkovsky himself likely would have condemned, but the inspiration is very clear, but also relatively singular. I think that the overly saturated, almost fully CG animated look to certain scenes is a bit overkill. The intent is clearly there, and some of the wides are utterly jaw-dropping, but some of the scenes with Willem Dafoe walking through the woods kind of give off PS3 game vibes, and it didn't really work for me. The camera work in the first 40 minutes or so especially is incessantly chaotic and viscerally jarring. The camera will cut mid-sentence to a different take of the same line of dialogue. The 180-degree rule is thrown out entirely, and it never stops shaking either. This is another thing that I understand the intent toward, and in many ways I think it works because it made me feel disgusting, but it did leave me distracted from the performers occasionally. Dafoe and Gainsbourg are sensational together, and however horrifying the lengths they go later on to depict some of the more graphic themes are, their commitment to the craft is jaw-dropping. Gainsbourg, in particular, in the first half of the film, gives one of the more realistic depictions of crippling self-loathing and grief that I've ever seen. I just wish there was more substantive follow-through with anything that the film is trying to get you to think about. There are lots of really substantive clues in the beginning half of the film that are endlessly fascinating to chew on. From the utterly devastating chemical warfare in our minds that is grief and the use of sex and physical pain as distractions from it, the male tendencies to assign meaning to everything so as to not feel anything, the harmful paradoxes of psychotherapy, fear being a driving force towards religious action, all of that is announced loud and clear. But from the famous Chaos Reigns moment on, the film just seems like a loosely strung together series of scenes we've already seen, accompanied by some of the most nauseating shock value cinema I've ever laid my eyes on. There's absolutely something to be said about Lars's inherent ability to generate a mood, because this put me in a state of utter misery almost immediately, and it only got worse until the point where I started to get physically ill. I could probably count on one hand the amount of films in my life that have gotten me to that point before, and if anything should do it, a film called Antichrist certainly fits the description. Something else that I haven't quite worked out in my head yet is the way Lars treats Gainsbourg's character in the latter half of the film. He's certainly no stranger to tackling themes that dissect feminine nature and the largely misogynistic perception of it in many of his films, but his treatment of her in the final act feels largely cruel, to be honest, and almost treats her as just another pawn for Willem Dafoe to complete his arc. I suppose that could kind of be the point in an effort to shine light over the self-importance of Dafoe's character, but at the same time, I did not need to see all of that to get the idea. There's certainly a lot of room for me to chew on this film in the future. I just, at this point, do not have the energy or willpower to dissect it any more than what I've got right here. I don't even really want to say I recommend this one, because in a lot of ways I don't. There's not many people in my life that I would actively recommend this towards, and even to those people, I would issue a lot of pretext to that recommendation, so do with that information and my analysis of the film what you will. It's a fascinating and unforgettable film, but those terms are not entirely complimentary either. Thank you guys so much, as always, for watching the video. Tomorrow we're going to be tackling a well-beloved classic, so make sure to come back at 12 o'clock noon Central Time for the analysis on that. And spoiler alert, I actually really like this one, so it's not going to be a repeat of the Frankenstein video. Thank you all again. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out.